Welcome back everyone. So I'd like to first go over some of the item and stat priorities. The first being the Dueling Wand. Now this is going to be one of the most important bases for us to have because it gives us the Spell Slinger skill. So it's a bit different to our normal invocations where we shock, ignite or freeze, or if we critically hit. That's how we normally gain energy. What this lets us do is gain energy for casting our own spells. So I'll show us down here. If we can see, I've got 3 charges, so I'll clear them. They're all gone. And we're going to start casting our spells, and we're going to watch to see that the charges go up on their own. So this is really good for us when we're using Lightning Warp, because we can just pump out the lightning balls whenever we need them, and it's going to recharge itself as we cast more. So very important to have that. Helps us a lot on the bosses, keeping the loop up, letting us sustain more lightning warp casts. If we go back to the items now, we'll see Alpha's Howl. So this isn't necessary, but it does give us a massive amount of spirit, and we don't compromise any spell skill levels. So if we were to wear a Scepter, we would be losing +3 to spell skills and a lot of damage. Maybe we could get the gain as extra damage back from one of the Sacred Flame or of the Mind, of the Eye, and the other one, the Guiding Palms. But this for me just seemed like the best option. And we can also get a Corruption for life regen, which is going to really help the Tecrod duel. We also get the presence radius is doubled. So if we see on the screen how big that is now, it's quite big. And everyone, or every enemy inside of that, is going to be slowed by Blasphemy, Temporal Chains. That is doing 41%. And also when I get the Spirit, we're going to be reducing the Elemental Ailment threshold with Overwhelming Presence. So this is important for us because the energy gain is based on how much ailment threshold we deal in damage. So the higher the threshold, the more damage we need to generate energy. If we can lower this threshold, we either need less damage to get the same energy, or we're going to end up getting more energy because we've lowered the threshold. So whichever way around you look at it, the Overwhelming Presence gem is amazing for all trigger gem setups. It really, really helps. The rest of the gear, we're just looking for resistances, maybe some energy shield, a bit of life. Mana does not matter for us. You can have it, not have it. It makes no difference because we're blood magic. Now, one of the key parts of this build is the Call of the Brotherhood ring. So no matter which variation you play of the build, we're always going to be triggering our spells with Ball Lightning and Lightning Warp, and they're both lightning spells. So if we can convert their damage into cold, what this lets us do is gain 10 energy when we hit and freeze, instead of gaining 1 energy for igniting or shocking. So we can see there's a massive discrepancy here. If we assume that we could freeze, shock, or ignite in a single hit, which we can on most mobs, then there is absolutely no reason not to try and freeze, and the Call of the Brotherhood ring is a really good way to get that done. I'd also just give a quick shout out to everyone on the Discord. I've not come up with all these ideas myself. There's been a lot of input from everyone, and it's really great, honestly. It's made the build so much better, and thank you to all you guys. But we'll have a look at the other ring here. So this is Seed of Cataclysm. Now, this is mainly for the critical bonuses. We don't need resistance, so we don't need a rare ring. And the other thing of this ring is the mana cost, but we'll see. The life cost down here is 852. So if I take this ring off, it's still 852. So the mana cost is not contributing to the life cost, but it's still a good ring with the critical bonuses. It's what I have at the minute. We could use a Ming's Heart Ring as well for the gainers extra chaos, and that also works well with the Embitter support gem. So we could use either one. There are probably many more options you could use. This is just what I have at the minute. I just want to bear in mind that the mana cost of skills does not increase life cost, as I can just show there. The rest of the gear does need spirit. We are a pretty spirit dependent build, as you can see. So on the amulet and the chest armor, we do want it, but we also get efficient inscriptions, which is going to give us 20% reservation efficiency on all of these. So this is massive for us. And if I take this off, I lose blasphemy. This is giving me like 50 or 60 spirit. It's quite a lot. So definitely worth having that. If you were to have this on a Megalomaniac, there are other options, and I'll go through those in the skill tree. But just for now, one last thing I would like to say is if you are on a bit of a budget, I'll have all the trade links down in the description, and they're all designed to be budget friendly. But there's also something that we can do with an essence of sorcery. So I'll buy one now just to show us quick what it does. So they're 4 exalts, which is quite a good price, considering what we're going to do with it. And I'll just find a wand like that one. So a wand like this we can easily pick up for 1 or 2 exalted orbs. There's loads of them on the market, especially with this new buyout trade system. It's so easy to get these. And what we're going to want to do is take a perfect essence of sorcery and imbue it into the wand. That's going to remove and add a +3 level of all spell skill. Oh, sorry, it's going to remove a random stat and then add the +3 levels. So this is basically what I have. This is what I did, and it's worked great. And we can also do that with the focus as well. For the Ascendancies, we're going to be going for uncapped Demon Flame with Demon Form. And just in case you've missed the past couple of patches or you're new to Demon Form, we'll just quickly go over, and that is every second we're a demon, we gain 1 stack. The amount of life that we lose depends on our level. As we can see at the top, this requires level 90 because I am a level 92 character. So it does stop at 90, it won't go up after this, level 20 max. But if you're a lower level, this life loss will be much lower. And that's going to help you a lot in the campaign, but it's also something to be aware of as you level up. This is going to become a lot harder to deal with. We're also getting 3% more spell damage. So if you remember in the older patches, these lines were different. We'd lose a percentage of our life and we'd gain increased spell damage. The difference is basically we're better off at the end of the game when we've got all our items. This is a much bigger damage amplification buff than it used to be. But on the other hand, we are a lot weaker in the campaign and maps early on compared to what we used to be. So perfectly viable, still a great Ascendancy choice. It's just we have to be mindful of the life loss if we go for uncapped. We're also taking Bringer of Flame. So the reason this is important is because we actually can generate energy from ignites, and this is going to massively boost how much we trigger. We can also get 50% more critical damage bonus from Grinning Immolation. Something interesting to note about that is that it does offset the penalty from Pinpoint Critical, which is important for us to have so that we can trigger more with Cast on Critical. I'll show you the skill tree quickly, and I'm sure there might be something that a few of you noticed that you might not have seen before. So we're going to go straight for that. And this is what makes this version of the build work so well, or at all. the in tribute to Tecrod is necessary. If you don't have Tecrod, you could have Amanamu, Uluman, which I think there's 5 altogether. So there's 5 of these names, and you want Tecrod for this build. If you don't have Tecrod and it's not corrupted, you can simply use a Divine Orb, and this will change. Just use a Divine Orb on it. Now I know that might sound expensive, but at the time of me making this video, this jewel is worth about 10 Divine, and it's worth about 10 Divine, and you can buy any random one for 3 Divine. So I'm not sure on the weighting. I don't know if Tecrod is equal weighting or less favourable, but either way, there is a lot of people who are flipping this jewel. They're buying them cheap, divining them, and selling the Tecrod, because this is a very popular jewel for Blood Mage and for Demon Form as well. So what it gives us, if we go for Tecrod, is the Sacrifice of Blood, which is going to let us regenerate life based on how much life we spend. So I'll show us that here. And if we just pretend that I'm starting off on that, what I normally do is when I cast, it's going to drop my life because we're using blood magic. But if you start to do that and use your life potion, you'll be able to cast it a lot more smoothly just from using your life flask. And this is going to give us life recovery from regeneration, we can see here. So all of our extra life regeneration is converted to energy shield regeneration. That's because of Zealot's Oath. So a really good recovery mechanic for us to make use of there, because we're constantly spending life regenerating it, and it's overflowing into our energy shield effectively. We also take blood magic to make sure that all of our mana costs are converted to life and will regenerate as much as possible. The other keystone we have is Elemental Equilibrium. So when we use Lightning Warp, we do generate remnants, and we'll now generate all different elements. So as we can see here, we've got cold, fire, and lightning. The rest of the skill tree is just damage bonuses, critical, elemental, spell. There is the Black Flame Covenant keystone that we take here. This is not necessary. It doesn't give us any damage, it doesn't help us that much at all. It just makes the fire effects purple. In some ways this is helpful because it's a lot less glare, it's not as bright. So it does help with the visual clarity. We're also taking the Metamorphosis jewel, and this is giving us quite a few bonuses. So Stormbreaker, we are able to ignite, chill, freeze, and shock with our spells. So this is a very powerful bonus. We can take extra crit and cast speed, and we can get extra AoE, all from a medium-small Metamorphosis. Obviously with as little negative resistance as possible. Another interesting node we can take is Soul Bloom. Now this is going to be to help our Zealot's Oath. It does apply, it does increase it, and this is what we get from our regeneration when we're full. It overflows into the shield. So Soul Bloom is really good to help recover that. We have a couple of choices for Megalomaniac and Anointments. So I would say Invocated Echoes, having a 40% chance to consume half as much energy. This is imperative. This is necessary 100%. And Efficient Inscriptions is very valuable. It gives me enough spirit to equip Blasphemy, which is a lot of quality of life. The Megalomaniac I have is with Invocated Echoes, and it's nice to find a second stat that you can make use of. So we've got some freeze build up, bit more energy gain, not too noticeable, but definitely not a dead stat. A couple of other things that I should note about the skill tree is this cluster here. So the red nodes are giving us Arcane Surge grants more life regeneration instead of mana. Normally Arcane Surge just grants mana regen, but we're going to convert that into life, and we are going to gain Arcane Surge through crits. So we have a 10% chance when we crit to gain Arcane Surge, and we're going to make it a bit more powerful as well. Aside from that, I think it's only the jewels that are left. So that's going to be Heart of the Well. And this is left over from the recoup. These are not the ideal stats for this particular build, except for the chance for trigger skills to refund half of energy spent. So just a couple of more budget options to go over. The Arctic Armour Spirit Gem is very, very good for our defense. At higher levels, it also does a truckload of damage, and it can one-shot rares that hit you, so it can be a lifesaver if you're stun locked or frozen. This can really get us out of a tight spot. And we also have a little bit of a tech here. So this is going to be Kurgle's Leash and Brutus's Brain. And what these do is they stop the minion from dying with Brutus's Brain. Cannot be damaged. And then Kurgle's Leash is going to give us the Unholy Might buff when we use the command skill of the minion. That's going to give us 30% gain extra chaos. So the way we would do this is we'd first activate the minion, and we're going to see an Unholy buff icon appear. And then after we see that, we're going to use Soul Offering. And now you can see we get 2 buffs. The duration can be increased on the Soul Offering. I don't think it can be with Kurgle's Leash. So this is just going to be a quick burst at the start of the fight. We can pop this before the boss spawns, and it's going to give us a lot of damage. Even level 17, 68% more, and then 30 gain is extra. The most important thing that we do need to remember is the order of the trigger gems. So they're going to trigger from left to right. It's always going to be the left one that triggers first. So when we're using spells like Ball Lightning and Lightning Warp, we always want the Ball Lightning in the left slot. So when it triggers, the Ball Lightning will cast first, and when the Lightning Warp attempts to cast, there will be a Ball Lightning for it to teleport to. If you have it the other way around, there's going to be a bit of staggering and a bit of clunkiness because the gem is trying to shoot them out from left to right. So we'll also quickly mention, in the planners, this is what the section of the skill tree is going to look like. This is going to be with every version of the build, and the reason for this is because it can be really difficult to manage our stacks and life regen. If we stop casting for just a few seconds, we're going to start losing life. And if we're not comfortable with how fast we need to react, we're going to find ourselves deforming. So if we take this node, we're going to get a big boost to our life regen, and it's going to make it a lot easier and a lot safer to play and give us a bit of time to pick up an item or two, and we're not so pressured for the time with the life loss. So I want to end on a 0 stack kill with the budget gear that I have. Obviously the only required unique being the Undying Hate Jewel. That is shooting up in price a little bit, but just to show what the setup does look like without crazy investment, without spending hours a day. I don't want to give people an unrealistic expectation to show off how good my gear is. I want to give you a template and a framework to make your own build from and have fun playing. Thanks for watching, guys. If you are stuck with your progression, or you're ready to upgrade to the next stage, but you have some questions, please feel welcome to ask here in the comments or over in Discord. I'm always more than happy to help, and there are many great people that will as well. The trade links and build planners will be in the description. So until next time, take care everyone.